Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to the Divine Union podcast. And if it's your first time tuning in with us today, welcome. So thrilled to have you here. And for those watching the YouTube version, I've got my new fancy standing desk, and I feel like standing today, so I'm having a good time playing around with sitting and standing, feeding my Vata energy and moving when I gotta move. So today we're talking about beyond the fixer energy, and finding that blend of where strength meets vulnerability, and how we can use this perfect balance to deepen the intimacy in our relationships, to have shared understanding, mutual perspective, relationships filled with mutual admiration, mutual inspiration, because that is what we all want to truly feel fulfilled. And I'm covering this topic because it's alive for me, because I have had multiple experiences this past we actually it's Monday today as I'm recording, so last week, and where I was sharing vulnerably. I was sharing vulnerably to a couple women in my life. And naturally, what happened was they went into trying to fix me, to help me. And this is so common. This is actually something I've been on both ends of the spectrum for. When someone's sharing vulnerable, I naturally want to fix, coach, help them solve it. And this is so conditioned in us. It's conditioned from our system. And I have a Instagram post where I talk about it's a relic of the unhealed masculine. And what do I mean by that? As a society, we are conditioned to see vulnerability as weakness. And this is why many people, men, women, gender nonconforming individuals, have a hard time expressing vulnerability because of either fear of coming off as weak, or, which this relates for me here, not wanting someone to fix me, or not wanting someone to view me differently from sharing something vulnerable. Because it's both. We live in a polarity world. There is both light and dark. We feel as human beings the range of emotion that comes with being a human being. You can feel deep states of joy and deep states of depression. And you're not able to feel the highs of the joy if you haven't felt the lows of the low. Because if you're not feeling the lows of the flow, how do you know what the actual extent of joy that you can feel is? So you need the polarity to actually feel. Otherwise, you're numbing out all the emotions and you're living at an even keel instead of being able to experience the full range, the full depth that this life has to offer. And so vulnerability is such a gift when you are sharing your heart with another human being. This is how we bridge connection. This is why I started off saying this is the key to deepening intimacy in partnership, is when we can truly see that and remember and remind ourselves, this is a gift that this person is sharing with me right now. And how do I want to handle that gift and receive that gift with the utmost of care? Is it more important for me to help them solve it? Or is it more important for me that they continue to want to share vulnerably? So we've been conditioned to see vulnerability as weakness, which is why many folks have a hard time expressing vulnerability. And in addition to that, there's this dynamic of, and what I want to do on this episode is also teach about the difference between weakness and vulnerability, and how do you express your vulnerability from a place of empowerment. Because what I also see happening in my work is, if you are not feeling fully empowered, you may express your vulnerability, but you're not actually walking yourself through the lesson, through the learning, through the process. So as you share vulnerability, there's no takeaway, there's no aha, you're not coming from an empowered place. So then the person receiving you is going to naturally try to help you. And you may receive that help and support, but in a way where it's actually disempowering to you. Yeah, maybe you ask for that support and you're disempowering yourself and not being conscious of it. And so it's a sensitive line that I want y'all who are listening to think about. When am I expressing vulnerability from a place of empowerment? And where am I doing it from a place of weakness? Now, here's how you can tell the difference. If I say something like, hey, I've had a hard week. Yeah, I'm noticing that I've been avoiding my feelings this week. I've been going into crunchy patterns of using food for emotional support. I've been feeling lonely even though I've been closing out the world. Yeah, this is like a real thing for me. Okay. I've been feeling lonely even though I hibernate from the world and I get into my own swing of things and I'm only really talking to my clients and doing the work that I got to do, writing and doing things that fuel my soul. Okay. But I've been really nourishing the spiritual side. I'm reading the Bible. And I'm connecting with God. I'm connecting with myself, also the God that's within me. And I've been having a lot of really insightful breakthroughs about my business, doing a lot of reflections, shifting directions, having insights, and noticing my patterns. And so, yeah, it's something I just wanted to share with you because I want to share my heart with you, sister, friend, lover, mother, daughter, whatever. I want to share my heart with you of what I'm going through so that you can feel me. You know, maybe you got something to share in your own experience with this. And yeah, here's how I'm walking myself through it. Now that's empowering because that's sharing your experience, is sharing your takeaway. I don't like to, and this is my opinion, I rarely ever share vulnerability when I don't have my own insights first, when I haven't worked through it. Because if you're in a space where you haven't processed your own emotions, your own grief, your own sorrow, your own trauma, whatever it is, and then you go sharing it with someone without any takeaways, of course, naturally, they're going to try to fix you or help you because you're looking to someone else for that, right? And then there's imbalance of power dynamics. You're putting someone on a pedestal, right? But we have that within, or we work with God on that. We rely on God on that for that. It's both. It's taking the personal empowerment and also surrendering to the higher power, however you want to speak to it, God, source, whatever it is for you. Yeah. That keeps you having faith and trust so that you don't feel like you have to navigate life alone because that's how life feels heavy when you don't have faith in some degree, in some capacity, at least for me. And so it's speaking to that. It's first empowering self. And when I share myself, I'm sharing myself as a gift. I'm not sharing myself out of neediness or codependency, help me, fix me, but instead it's here's my heart. You want to get to know me more? Here it is. I'm sharing my process with you. I want to hear more of your heart. I want to hear more of your life experience. Do tell. And now this is where relating becomes beautiful. This is incredibly deep. This is relationships filled with admiration and respect and an amazing conversation. My ideal way that would flow would then be someone saying, wow, Nicola, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for choosing to share that with me. And it's funny because this is how my weekend was going. Or, yeah, in the past, oh, yeah, I have my own things with food. I have my own unhealthy codependencies. And then this is a realization that I had when I was going through that. And this is how we mutually get to learn about each other and share with each other because we are mirrors. So if any one of you, myself included, has done this, but if we come from a place of, oh, yeah, I haven't been there. Oh, I'm better than that. I'm above that. then you need to humble yourself and come back to humility and remember that we're all human beings. So every single thing that someone's felt, you felt in some capacity. You can relate to some aspect of their story. It doesn't have to be the exact thing, but it's these themes because no one is above. And that's your ego if you think you are above. And it's a continual practice to humble. I can't even tell you how many times I felt I was above. And then 3 weeks later, I'm on the other end of the spectrum. And I'm like, oh, wow. Here I am judging this person. And now this person's judging me. And now I get it. Now I see how they feel. In fact, that happened to me that last week. That's why I said I was on both ends of the spectrum. And so then when it comes to that, if you're in a conversation and you're sharing vulnerably and you notice that the dynamics, the power dynamics are shifting, maybe someone's unconsciously going into coach mode and maybe you just wanted them to receive and share from their own experience, then it takes communication to speak about that. Hey, sister, friend, lover, husband, I'm noticing, yeah, that I'm feeling a little bit of closure because I feel like I'm sharing and I would prefer resonance. I would prefer you to share, to feel my heart and to feel me and to share your experience, with this. And this is how we continue to learn about each other and deepen. And it's such a sensitive line to be. I'm so happy I'm doing this episode because wow, so much is coming out, but it's such a sensitive line to also navigate the difference between sharing vulnerably and emotional dumping, right? Because if you're like, yeah, I just want you to listen, but I'm dumping all these negative things without sharing any value or insights or takeaway, that's also not a fun dynamic for anyone to be in. And that's not going to create a relationship filled with mutual admiration either or respect. So it's being mindful of what you share, when you share it, how you share it and doing it from a place of always speaking to the empowering thread, the takeaway. Have you ever spoken to someone, had a conversation with someone, and they're like giving you this negative story, but there's no learning, there's no positive, they're not spinning it in a positive, and you're just like, oh man, my energy is drained after this. I was up here, my vibe was high, and now it feels low. Right? It's like, that's not fun. I don't want to be around that. So it's being conscious of that. And it's also if you're the listener and you notice that someone is sharing and you're feeling drained by the conversation or it doesn't feel empowering or they're not getting to the learning in the lesson, then you can also empower the people around you. I say this in my conversations. Like, give me the positive. Spin it. What's the positive? I want to hear the takeaway. That's what inspires me. And it's true. I'm speaking to what I want and I'm showing the person through how I guide the conversation, what kinds of conversations feel enlivening for me. Now, it doesn't mean it's always about me and I don't hold space, but no, it's learning how to show people how you want to communicate with them. But also, I want to empower the people in my field because I used to go around saying, no one's as conscious as I am and advanced as I am, and I can't find sisters that I can truly relate with on a deep level. And you know what? That was a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because if we think that we're better and we're always trying to coach our friends or make our friends clients, well, then it's like, it's unequal power dynamic. It's an interesting dynamic. So instead, it's like, hey, you got this. Even with my clients, I empower them. Like, what are your thoughts? You have the answers, walking them through processes. I still share my 2 cents, but I'm not your savior. I'm your mentor. I'll never be your savior because if you put your mentor on a pedestal, then you're going to love them one moment and hate them the next. And we are all empowered beings. So, how do we relate with our friends, with our clients, with our partners, with our familial folks as empowered beings? So then it's like, spin it positive for me. What did you learn from that whole process? What are your thoughts on that? This is how I've navigated it in the past, but I don't know your experience. You know it. Why don't you tell me? And this is how we empower the people around us. And this is how we create dynamics that feel fulfilling. Because I don't want to be friends with people where I'm just like helping them nonstop. That doesn't feel good for me. I want to be around people that inspire me. I want to be around people that challenge me. I want to be around people who know how to walk themselves through things and tell me their process because that feels good. And this is it. This is the key. And how do we use vulnerability as power and as strength? And it's through our embodied way of how we express vulnerability and how we speak about ourselves vulnerably and how we navigate other people's vulnerability. This is how we shift how the collective responds to vulnerability. Doesn't mean I'm always received in the way I desire. In fact, no, I have many a conflicts where I'm sharing vulnerability in an empowered way and someone still doesn't receive it in that way or they're not responding in the way that I desire. And then it's just communicating. Ooh, yeah. For me, like resonance feels more valuable. For me, it feels more valuable to hear your experience. I don't need you to talk to me about my experience. Instead, you can receive my experience or in the moment, maybe comment on it, but like don't keep coming back to my experience. Yeah, because then it's someone else avoiding sharing about themselves in a dynamic. And so it's being attuned to these dynamics and being attuned to your own feeling of empowerment in a conversation. Also being attuned to the energy of the conversation and an equal give and take, power dynamics of that way. And those kinds of conversations to me feel the most enlivening. And sure, sometimes maybe in a conversation, I might dominate more. If I have more to share, maybe a sister will share more the next time. That's okay. But I like for it to feel even. For me, that feels the most fulfilling when it's a conversation where both parties are sharing. Both parties are maybe imparting wisdom. Both parties are curious. Both parties have a dance of the masculine and feminine. Imparting wisdom, masculine energy, curiosity, feminine energy. And how do you balance this? So it's a beautiful conversation of vulnerability and strength because that feels so damn good. Then it's human to human. We're not here to connect with other robots. We're human beings doing this human experience. We're here to open our hearts, to feel each other, to see the mirrors in each other that we are, to come back to union, divine union. That's what this podcast is called. It's about divine union, inner union with self. Sacred union in relationship, oneness with the cosmos and all that is. We come into union because we are all one. I have a big smile on my face for those of you who are not watching the YouTube version. Oh, what an amazing, enlivening episode. My energy is feeling so good after recording this. Yeah, I'm feeling good after recording this. I can't wait to hear your feedback. But pop me a DM. I always love to hear feedback in the DMs. And of course, if you dug this episode and found it super valuable, share it with someone who would dig it, who would gain value from it. And of course, leave us a review on the podcast if you feel so inclined because it means so much to little old Nicola and the podcast. This is how we gain traction as a podcast. This is how we get more ears listening about these topics around intimacy and communication and passion and union, masculine, feminine energetics. This is how we raise the frequency of the collective. This is what we're here to do. It's been such a pleasure. I look forward to seeing y'all next week. And until then, may all your unions be divine.